All right. Going live while I'm still getting everything set up. Restarted my machine earlier and just haven't launched Unity and everything else. So bear with me. It'll be a little bit quiet in the first minute or two because I figured I would just I'd use the in-game audio. But you know what? Let me pop over to YouTube and just load up our playtest. Our playlist. Sorry, that'll be good. Didn't mean to say playtest. I don't think anybody's in here to get psyched out. Sorry. I'm sorry. Sign in. What in the world? Should I be signed in? Which account? Okay. Oh, Google, why do you do this? All right. Now let's go to our channel. Playlists. Soundtrack. Hey Zukin. Hello, Dark Inside. Jamino? Is it Jamino like domino or is it Jamino? Still pulling. Okay. Well, we'll let that pull for a bit then. Either one is fine. Right on. I gotta work on my posture. I've got a pinched nerve on my left side for over a month now. Got some doctor's appointments for it coming up, but I noticed I can it's possible to sit here the wrong way and have it be even worse. So Chaz says hello and then says really enjoyed reading through the latest update. Oh, right on. Glad you found it.
Hey, robot. Been busy in RL. Just wanted to say hi.
Hey, Norden. Thank you very much for 12 months and thank you for saying hi. Never worry about being busy. You know we'll be here. It's always nice to see people pop back in though. Oh, interesting. My hand's cut off now. I bumped my camera because it's just kind of sitting here. It's not really attached very well. So let me... It's literally just attached to like a selfie stick tripod. Yeah, Norden. When he showed, when I first saw, when I first saw this, I was just blown away. It immediately hit me in the heart. I have loved the idea of this ever since I had a German Shepherd when the movie Labyrinth came out, and I always pictured her kind of in that same role. So, and then yeah, it's evolved to something fantastic. So, good suggestion. Hey, Unchained. Hey, Vantilion. Chinny D. Did I already say hey? Anyway, thanks guys for getting in here early. Aeon240AD says, in your bio you mentioned Unannounced MMO. Is that one where you can't share what it was by contract or just never made it so chose to reframe? I think I've mentioned it in the past. Is that the one that was at SOE? Norden, thanks again and see you. I guess I could always look and see what my bio says. It's probably depending on what company I have that listed under. If it's the one for Sony Online, then we've talked about it a bunch. I hope there's nothing preventing me from discussing it. I've discussed it a bunch. MMO FPS, yeah, okay. That was basically we were asked by Smed and Russ and company if we could reuse the PlanetSide 1 engine to make a new MMO and basically pitch that. So we worked for a little bit. I went over to the PlanetSide team instead of staying on the EQ team. I went over to the PlanetSide team for a bit. Got to know all of that crew, and then we decided to wanted to do a near future mercenary game that was based off of PlanetSide, and instead of there just being two factions, it would be kind of like a Guild War style PvP setup with like 2 or 3 major thematic factions kind of underlying if we needed them. But it was just going to be about mercenaries, and the focus would be on. It was kind of it was a little bit of a. I think I played a decent amount of. Was it Defense of the Ancients? The old mod, the original mod. A few of us played that a fair bit. And one of the things that I thought was lacking in PlanetSide was, because it was, to me, it felt like a pretty friendly FPS to get into, because the lethality wasn't super high and there was a lot of combined arms. So you could, you could be the person that drives an ANT back and forth, or you could provide air support with Reavers, or be a bomber, or fly the whatever their big C-130 looking shuttle thing was, or stick around and wait for people to show up at the base. And and even within that, depending on what suit you wore, you could be anti-air or anti-armor, so I thought the amount of diversity and roles that existed within PlanetSide made it pretty welcoming as a FPS. And then nothing was cooler than the scale of battles, or perceived scale of battles in PlanetSide. And so with those things in mind, I always wondered why there wasn't AI. And there was actually a really brilliant AI programmer on the team. Scott, don't remember his last name. Probably shouldn't use both names either way. But anyways, and they had actually, there's meant to be like AI when you're in the little training, the like training shooting gallery or whatever, right? So my thought was, why not have AI doing some things like formations of aircraft, covering like automated ANTs, or bases that always have a certain amount of defense no matter what, or that kind of stuff, because then that could potentially allow for even broader skill range than just PvP, right? Because they could be relatively dumbed down or whatever. So anyways, and it might help with some of the lopsidedness and some of the sort of circular base chasing and all that shit that was going on at the time. So, but the lead designer of PlanetSide was like, absolutely no actual combat AI. So what we wanted to do with the mercenary game was basically have base building AI that you could hire, local population AI to, third party you or whatever, and have it be mercenary based. But for the amount of time that we're going to be given, we just weren't going to be able to make something that worked well enough. And at the time, management and marketing really didn't seem into the idea of mercenaries at all. It was a little too early. It was before mercenaries became the latest rage. Before mercenaries actually started fighting actual preludes to world wars, apparently. So that's my story. Talit, hello. Blue. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they had to have some kind of grind in there, right? Subscription based. Hey, Zemus. Liz Biscuits, what's up? Gulu Gulu. So, cool. So today we can either continue on the brainstorming discussion, or I can update the title of this stream. And am I done pulling? Do I have latest now? I do. And in theory, I could do some prop placement or something else instead. Or while we wait for people to come in, I could do that. Hey, first. Thursday we did like a... It was... The original topic was... Oops, this can go over here. Shh. Shh. Hey, Droop. Was conveniences versus inconveniences. So we were just kind of talking about different systems, or... it basically, as happens with every one of these brainstorming sessions, there was a billion cool ideas provided of topics and stuff. So it'd be things like, I wrote them in as they were submitted, so we can rewrite some of the titles on these. So here, I'll do a quick review for those of you that don't remember the end of last Thursday or haven't checked the VOD on Twitch or whatever. So topics that came up were maps versus being forced to learn the world, buffs and buff durations, leveling pace, UI discussion, twinking and buffing, instances versus contested content, fast travel and horse flight paths, shared banks between characters, account-bound items or no, mass teleportation versus making the journey on foot / horse, hirelings / NPCs versus grouping with players. What was that? Did I just scare you, buddy? Oops, I scared my dog by moving. Reagents. I think reagents. Let me change this really quick so it's not quite as big of a title here. Where are you? Did this not update? Update. Where is reagents? Why are these different sizes now? Reagents disappeared. I think there's some formatting that I screwed up somewhere. Twinking and buffing. Leveling pace, UI discussion, twinking, buffing. Vendor gate, instances versus contested. Oh, that's what's happening. Some of these got turned into normal text instead of Title 3. Does that automatically make it normal text again? But it didn't do it for that. Weird. Okay. So let's see. Spell reagents. Soulbinder, mounts versus no mounts, companion pets, potions, scrolls, wands, etc. Droppable versus no drop items. Epics versus not having them, I guess. Mailboxes versus no mailboxes. Encumbrance versus no encumbrance. Raids, raid constructs, corpse runs versus no corpse runs, graveyard, multi-questing. I think versus no is kind of redundant in a lot of these, so let me just get rid of that. And we'll say graveyards. Oops. Hey, Costanza. Yeah, I'm hatless right now because my hat should be drying. I have it hanging on the line to dry. I wear that hat so much that after a few days of decent yard work, it can get a little ripe. So I hand wash it and then hang it up. Yeah, so additional topics. Graveyards, multi-questing, group trade windows is more of, I think it's just a suggestion than a topic. Specializing a class to one role versus trait trees. Camps versus not having camps, loot drops, crafting, quest journals, loot all versus loot one at a time. That's such a it's a very minor one, but it's worth a discussion because I know a lot of people are like, I just want to click on my corpse and loot all. But so here's the interesting thing that happens with these types of discussions is some of the wild ideas that get thrown out are actually interesting. Like, what if it is loot all, but it's like a form of channeling, and you can improve your skill to make the looting faster. I thought that was pretty cool. MMO Pug, thank you for 8 months. So, just don't want to click 100x. Yeah, well, don't die. Just don't die. Good call. Yeah, see? I'm a pro. I mean, I can't follow my own advice, but you know what? I'm not the one crying about getting to loot all my very cool items back.
35 months of M&M. Wow. Easy, almost 3 years.
Maze, thank you for 35 months. Midgard, thank you for 35 months. Yeah, it's almost 3 years. It's weird, huh? Chinny D said, Robot, I watched your interview with Jake Sones this weekend and he discussed mobs dropping hundreds of items versus just giving coin for convenience. Thought it was perfect timing for these brainstorms. Did he suggest, because he'd been working on like Ratchet and Clank or something, right? Didn't he suggest having it just be coin? And did I push back on that? I would have hoped that I pushed back on that. Because it's in my nature to push back on that one. I just think by the time you start giving, like, you kill monster, here's your coin, you might as well just do points, right? And we'll just have, like, you can type in your 3 initials when you die and see who's got the highest score at the end of game. It just, to me, it's very immersion breaking. Whenever people complain about there being too many items, I get some of the arguments like, I don't know if it's worth anything. Well, there you go. Figure it out. You've got a task now. You've got purpose in life. Figuring out whether or not these items are worth anything. But it's super unfair. I should just know. What if I fill my inventory with stuff that's worthless? You did not respect my time, game designer. Well, I mean, if you really wanted to respect your time, you'd be at the gym and, oh shit, did I say that? I'm not allowed to say that. I make video games for a living. Yeah, basically, you're very kind about how you said it, but got that point across. That's. I assumed I was nice about it, but I thought I remembered saying it. Now, I can definitely agree that there can be too many just sort of like trash items that barely have any value and also don't have any also don't have any value for like quests or trade skills or whatever. And then it also kind of sucks if there's a bunch of like random quest drops that you can't sell or do anything with. I could see that. Retro Gamer asks, do you think there's any value in WoW design? Obviously tons of value in WoW's design. It's been the most successful Western MMO. No? Should vendor fodder items and quest items be labeled as such overtly? I'm torn on that one, Zemus. I would. Another way to say that is, should vendor fodder items and quest items be easier to differentiate? Because labeling is the solution, but the problem is wanting to know whether or not they're of value. I would love if we could add player labels. Would they be exclusive to your client? Here, you know what? We've just started on a topic. Is this in here? Since we just started? Loot drops. Need for greed. I'm gonna make a new. Vendor drops and quest drops. How about that? BB Grill, what up? Let me expand this chat window since you guys are already starting to go at it. So Droop, I like what you're thinking right now. If you're thinking what I'm thinking, I like what you're thinking. If you're not thinking what I'm thinking, then I might not like it. But I like what I'm thinking, as usual. So what I'm picturing is, that you can define information on an item. Essentially, this would be weird implementation wise as well, but like when you type in that it's loot, like trash versus trade skill versus quest, that doesn't propagate out to everybody. It's just tagging on your end. It's all self-tagging. I kind of like that. I like it. So, self-tagging of items. And then you also, you said something else here as well. Maybe add a no delete. Let me, maybe add a no delete, no drop flag to accidentally delete something you've marked. It's interesting. Let's, without even trying to edge case or whatever, self-tagging of items. And then we'll go. First, remind me. I still need to dig up we've got these old brainstorm sessions from last year in Google Docs, cleaned up, and there's a lot of good stuff in there. remind me to provide access to that. So let's see, one more thing. So self-tagging of items, loot, sorry, like trash, trade skill. Then again, it could just be freeform tags. Trade skill, quests. Being able to add no drop, no delete tags for yourself so you don't F up. Alright, so I'm going to catch up with you guys. Liz Kimber said, yeah, like your own post-it. Bonteleon said, as long as the information is stored locally, locally stored for that player and not public. I think it's neat idea. Have an identify skill that gives you a general idea of what it's for, and commerce can give you a value. You know what? Identify skill maybe interacts with item tags, so you know what it's for, and gives rough value. Now, I thought about there being NPCs that could do that for you. So there's a curio shop, a curious goods shop with Master Wingcog in it. And I thought of maybe a number of NPCs that would tell you if the item's used in a quest. And I think I've mentioned before the idea of maybe having him be somebody that could buy quest items and sell them. Now there would still be limitations within that, but I like that. I don't know. First, I know there's probably a billion edge cases, but there's something about, you know, being able to go pick up quest items off somebody. I can already think of a million reasons not to do that. But anyways, Bufu said really like the self-tagging idea. Quixana likes it. Kyle Jono says tagging is great. Yeah, so it looks like people are into this. What I miss? Zima said, whatever inconveniences are built into the game will become targets of community-driven solutions. Absolutely. Example, no data on items will encourage someone to write a plugin that overlays that info into the client. You could tag Ruined Wolfskin as trade skill tailoring, and then in my bank, I could have a bag that accepts tailoring, so when I go to the bank, I can do a quick deposit of items. That's interesting as well. I'm going to note that. I'm just going to do a straight copy paste of this example like I was doing on Thursday. It'll come up crazy looking, but that's fine. Oh wait, I forgot. We can do it this way. As long as I'm using the right language keyboard. Control Shift V, and we're good. Sklar says, one of the things about quest drops I currently don't like is that they are generally not worth much as vendor loot, or they're no drop. Be nice for them to be worth something to turn in. That way, I would not have to keep a list of a bunch of random items that aren't worth anything. I think there's always, so with this solution, there's still always going to be a certain amount of discovery that you're going to want to do. But yeah, that's what I was saying a second ago about there being NPCs that could potentially buy some of that stuff and sell it. Retro Gamer said, what level of being old-fashioned is valuable in 2023 and what is just too old and just backwards progression? I think that's just, I think that's subjective. It's going to come down to, are there a certain number of people that like certain constraints or tedium or design decisions that older games used? If there are enough of those people, then there's a market, and if there's a market, then you've got a product. Then your last statement there is, I'm of course opinionated. I think if you create an MMO to be like WoW, you better surpass it, or even innovate and have something that stands out in a good way. Otherwise, you're living in the shadow of WoW or whatever MMO. Yeah, well, I mean, you see the discussion of WoW at different eras, right? That's the discussion in the WoW community ever since before Classic came out. So that's in a sense hitting your question of going backwards or whatever. So I really do think it's just different configurations of rules create different feels, and then the question is whether or not there's enough people that are into that to make it a viable business. A protect flag, Liz, is that similar to we've got Droop's original idea of being able to add no drop and no delete flags to the item for yourself? So 100 so free form tags along with some standard sets of tags. Cool. I think it's an interesting addition to our notes system, right? Which our notes system will be, our quest journal will also be similar to a notes system, so. Droop said rogues in EverQuest get an AA ability that's supposed to give you a general idea of the value of an item. They didn't implement it well, so it wasn't useful, but the idea was always cool. I'll copy this. Zemus, why wasn't it implemented correctly? That sounds like a cool idea. Building on the OCD side of this, Vantilion says, perhaps a catalog system, something a player can add or remove to their catalog along with notes, tags, both. Oh, that reminds me. So that reminds me, note to self, don't forget the item ledger. Now it might, that might tie into, do you remember the old, here, let me see if I can find it. Monsters and memories. You know what? Let me just look in the folder. Dang it. Oh, it's because that one's not in the other folder yet. May. Where was our UI stuff? May. Monthly updates. Not December. I don't know why April has nothing in it. Definitely not June. I don't think. Previous June. Oh, time flies. I need to find the... No, I thought it was older than that. Goblin did a mock-up of UI stuff. Am I gonna have to actually, for real, go to the updates page to find this. I guess I am. All right. Monsters and memories updates. Since we're on this topic. Yes, there is a new update. I haven't sent out the mailer yet. I haven't sent out the mailing notification yet, but there is a new update. Oops, what I just... where was it? Where's the UI stuff? Everybody pick a different update and scan it and see if you can find the UI stuff before I do. Surprised there's no pick of the flash test from 4th of July. Liz, that's a fair point. I could probably add one to the update before I send out the mailer. I post the updates so it's easier for the team to just skim them and look for typos and shit. Maybe it's this one. This one's looking pretty beefy. No, really? Or was it? Here we go. All right. So when we were mocking up how the UI works, one of the tabs that here, this one, there's just a placeholder for a ledger. So the all of your transactions would be recorded, right? And transaction includes loot, sell, destroy, trade, buy, right? So you just have a list of all item exchanges that have occurred on your account, or sorry, on your character. Then we can have a note field on that. Is the list searchable and filterable? Yeah, it should be. Basically, that's the kind of functionality that we want to put in, right? So when we talk about player UI, the idea, in my mind, it's about trying to find ways to make it as functional as possible. So even this idea of, this idea that he's showing here is that you can reconfigure your user interface. It works very much like just a web page, right? So you can grab that tab, pull it out, and have it be its own element, or you can take that tab and you can embed it back in and reconfigure the way that your top level UI looks, or so that you've got a mix of these two UIs or that UIs. So you could just kind of change it the way whatever you tend to be doing the most of. Anyway, so it's something we want to play around with. Let's see. I'm scrolling back up to catch up on stuff. Zima said the Rogue A was 5k switch statement, like for less than 1 gold, less than 1 plat, less than 10 plat, greater than or equal to 10 plat. Did it work, or did it work that way, or? Let's see. Scrolling up again. I remember a low-level broken quest in EQ about a wand where you had to collect items for a turn-in, but it was based purely on only what their identify value was. VT shards was this way as well. It was interesting, and could have been expanded quite a bit. That confuses me. Did you have to identify Vexal shards? I didn't remember that part of it. Let's see. Let me try to catch up because there's some new stuff coming up. Scrolling up again. Blue said, saw a folder named called Lizards. I'm intrigued. Yeah, if you check the latest update on the website, it's been stealth activated. And you'll see a bunch of lizards. Yeah, my suggestions come from EQ Live, and doing my Artisan's Prize, having to sort several banks full of items was nuts. Tags would be amazing. EQ search item window was a godsend. I can definitely... Oops, I'm still here, YouTube. Let's see. Alright, scrolling down. I think I covered most. Just re-ask your question or remake your statement if I missed anything super important. Yeah, first, I definitely... the concept was there, so why not put it in? Monteleon says, saves times for petitions. I saw that thing. Yeah, a game I worked on years ago actually had that kind of ledger. And it really does save a lot of customer service headaches because people will, they can look at their ledger and kind of see, oh, this item's no longer here. And so, first thing you should do is check your own ledger. Also, I think I've mentioned before, I'd like a social ledger. So anybody that you group with, you see when and where in people's names that you've been grouped with, and maybe there is additional kind of social functionality in there, just because it may be one of those things where it's like, oh man, I was in a really good group like 3 days ago and I didn't remember any of their names. And so this gets into Moravik Vart. Did I say that right? Moravik Vart. Just give me the phonetics if I fucked it up. Let's see. This may have been covered, but for your project, where do you draw the line on UI/tool recording things for you automatically versus you providing a tool in game for players to manually document things? So we've talked about this primarily in the area of Quest Journal here. And what we've stated is, if it's something like I had a conversation with an NPC, having that just automatically record so that you can look back and see that. It's not a forward-facing Quest Journal, but it is something where it records information for you. I think that type of thing is enough of a quality of life upgrade, and something that we can mess with and have feel good without it feeling too like automated and gamey. We provide a tool for you to take notes, but with some of the stuff like transactions, I think people would use a ledger. So an example of like the item ledger, people will use this ledger if it is automated to some degree, right? If it's automatically putting that information in there, providing people the ability to write down every item they transact, they're not going to do it. Toggle for auto eat, auto drink would make my life as a chef much less stressful, Brown Butcher said. I think that's very fair. Where would we put that? Let's put it under crafting. Zemus linked the Akivian language and social structure numbers regarding the Vextol shards. Droop says, yeah, the Rogue AA worked, but there's limits. But the limits were just set oddly, and it didn't really scale as the game moved forward and items became worth more. It seemed to be an idea that was thrown in a mix and then kind of got lost, never getting love, and they eventually took it out. Okay, that makes sense. Based on the ranges that were described, I could probably see what you're saying. Swagnar says, I mainly want to see an eating animation. Maybe instead of auto-eating, you get a you're hungry and you should eat something notification. So that's been suggested as well. I'm gonna... You know what? I'm gonna make a new category. Eating and drinking. I think food is food that is filling should offer more than an appetizer food. Yes. Kahal G, thank you for the follow. Foods that have no value on higher foods, which are supposedly more filling but aren't. Retro gamer, what do you mean? Okay, you explain. Let's say you eat a plate of spaghetti. It should be more filling than eating an apple in theory and have you stay filled longer. No? How complex do you want eating and drinking to be? Have you played Valheim? Let's talk about eating and drinking since you guys are on that topic now. Let's do it. Beer is also food. This is true. I believe that statement to be 100% true in my diet. Let me sit up a little bit more so you don't see exactly how much I believe that statement. CJX says, oh, I've been having fun with eating and drinking recently in WLG. Why am I... Tell me what that means. For crafting, what if you had to manually click combines until you reach a trivial level and then you're awarded a pattern button to automate the combination? I'll write it down. So what are you talking about? Love Valheim. Valheim's great. Schmonite said Valheim is gustorial accounting. What? Next, we will have to use the bathroom and shower. We can hit that topic next, Talit. Morvek says, I don't want too much survival game in my MMO, personally. Fair. But where's the line? Maybe eating better food gives you better physical response. There's already buffs and stuff on food before, right? What's the base concept for food and drink in M&M so far? We've got different value in terms of how long it's... Basically, it's duration. And we've talked about the idea of providing different benefits But we've also kicked around. Like, I know Ollie's really into the idea of there being a little bit more with, more involved there. Hunger or thirst should be debuffs. Yeah, you're currently debuffed if you're hungry and thirsty. Zima said food pyramid. Macronutrients are required unless your stamina, hit point, mana, strength, etc. get negatively impacted. All beer and no fruit diet is fine for warrior but bad for a mage. Interesting. More benefits for eating versus punishment for not eating. Valheim did a bit of both, but leaned way more into benefits. I'll put it in here. No macronutrient tracking, that's too much. Okay, fair. Poisoned, spoiled, radiated food a la Fallout that can negatively impact you or render you sick. Weird little guy, code name for my current home project, open world exploration crafting game. Okay. That explains why I didn't recognize it. Liz said, gotta remember us noobs won't have the money to buy much. Well, that's part of the evolution of part of the progression, right? Fun question I was playing with recently. Do you digest all your food simultaneously or one item at a time? Currently, it's just automatically eating one at a time. What about preferred diets for races? Interesting thought. Interesting. I like the idea of getting an actual visible buff from stat, food, drink. I think if there's any complexity added to the system, we're gonna have to go with a visible buff type of route because you've got to communicate what's going on, right? Yeah, unless I'm mistaken, Brown Butcher, once you get to a certain level of like hunger or thirst, then your move rate gets hit. Oh, I gotta add in randomly my wife one day said, "Does being hungry increase your fizzle rate?" It was so random because she doesn't even play these games. It was just the most out of the blue, like, MMO question for someone that doesn't play games. I want a full fishing sim embedded as a side minigame. Yeah, I don't blame you. Believe there should be benefits for eating and drinking versus punishments for not. Then it's just potions. That's no fun. Then you're just taking potions. Everything can't be buffs, guys. What if everything just makes things better? What if I can sell items to every NPC that I meet for full price, but if I go to a merchant, they give me like 5 times as much money? All right. Everything can't be a bonus. Fishing is best in Sea of Thieves. Swagnar, why is that? Swagnar says, I'm gonna say going too long without eating should eventually cause you to lose all your health and mana regen. I could have sworn, doesn't it do it now? CGX says, I tend to always default to benefits for doing a thing rather than penalties for not doing it. Positive player design. I know that's probably, you know, in some cases I absolutely can see where there's value in like taking something that's perceived as a negative and relabeling it as a bonus. Blah, 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 moving on. WoW did that. You know, there's a legendary rest timer sort of thing, but I think it can go too far, and I think maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a Gen Z millennial thing more than other stuff. But more than... It's like, what if everybody gets a medal, but then somebody gets a much nicer medal? Not into it. I want to encourage you to do the thing. Well, we're encouraging you to do the thing by punishing you if you don't do it. Being hungry enhances rage mechanics. That actually, that's a bit of realism that we could play with. Not eating shouldn't make your character completely worthless. There should always be some way to make yourself functional, stamina, movement, etc. But if the primary... how about eating? There's a super simple solution. And what if we provide more ways for you to potentially eat, right? Like, foraging doesn't typically matter because, well... Does fasting have any beneficial effects? It does if you're a podcaster. If you have a podcast and you write self-help books, then fasting absolutely has beneficial effect. Ask my wife. She listens to every single one of those podcasts and buys every single one of those books. Can we have a stupid amount of cooking recipes using similar ingredients, like a drop-down list of results if more than one recipe uses like chicken, meat, etc.? Pods of water, crude example, but simple. I mean, if you want a stupid amount of recipes, but the question becomes, do you want a bunch of different recipes that do the same thing, or do you want fewer recipes that do something unique? Any plans for fishing can be expanded. Currently it works just like EQ, but I remember talks about working more like Stardew Valley. Yeah, we will eventually tackle mini games. Everything can be a buff if you make the unbuffed state terrible enough. That is definitely one way of looking at it. So Swagnar got back and said, you actively work to reel in your fish and have to pull the opposite direction. The fish is struggling to avoid snapping the line. Oh yeah, cool. When we're looking at mini games, I think that's something we could look at. I know Ollie's pretty excited to play around with those at some point. And it could be that we do one version of something like fishing and then later on we replace it with something better. Just so we don't get to a point where it starts to feel too future creepy prior to going live. But being able to improve systems like that in live, something we want to do. And I'm not just saying that so that we blow stuff off, but I think there's a lot of value in reinforcing or iterating on the core game as part of the live game in that manner. Because that, you know, fishing, for example, will be a thing that people will be doing for the lifetime of the game. So why not improve it over time? Being hungry can increase the time between melee and bow attacks for auto attack classes. I'll put it in here. Food and drink has degradation on a timer where you get less positive effects from consuming, pushing people to craft food while resting. Zoidberg, could you expand on that a little bit? Because I'm curious where you're seeing the degradation on the item itself, or Unchained. I'm gonna add your comment to B Moore's comments so that it's clear. Eating and drinking stream. A very, very small chance to reel in an actual mob that you have to fight when you fish. It sounds like somebody that's accidentally had like a copperhead get in their boat when they're fishing in the south. Alright, so I'm just gonna put in fishing for now so I don't miss this. And you know what? I'm going to leave it like that now so I recognize that it's new. What if we could create a system where players can submit recipes with a nutritional value based on ingredient types? That's super wacky. That's super wacky. I want to write it down because it's also interesting. Players can make their own cookbooks. That would require that'd be an interesting system. Will tunes have any audio aspects to them? Will they ever make noises, or is MMO going the EQ route, mostly quiet except mobs where when they get hit? It's gonna be relatively quiet. If we find that that's something that's in high demand, then we can look into the implications, like the logistics of getting it set up and costs of getting them, the sounds and all that, but we're on a budget. Absorian, thank you for the follow. Taverns Inn should have food options. Correct. But then a player-run tavern and inn will have better food options. Brown Butcher says this is the best stream ever. My productivity at work went to 0. I'm glad I could help. Retro Gamer says I want to see cultural stuff. Say XRs cannot eat certain foods, maybe food allergy or poisons. Poisonous and doesn't heal damage. Yeah, so that goes into the earlier suggestion of preferred diets for races. So I'm going to tack that on there as well. Love the collaborative spirit here, Fielder says. Yeah, we did these last year for a number of topics. You know, we can probably go through, what I may do is, because we made the documents public last year, but what I could do is go through, dust off the documents, get the links, post them in Discord, have you guys read ahead on some of them, like what makes a good dungeon, blah, blah, blah. And then we could rehash the topic again, because I know there's some new folks in here. Oh yeah, that's right. Vante Leon made a fishing thread in Discord. Don't forget that. Cosmetic armor set? What, made of food? Zoidberg, okay. Zoidberg got back to me on this. Like a timer after creation or purchase, say 2 to 3 days, where any side effects lessen in after a week to actively hurt you for consuming. Somebody in our Slack was just saying this. Maybe it was Ollie. I don't know if it's Ollie or Nick or somebody was like, what if food could go bad? I think it was Ollie, because Ollie was brainstorming on some food stuff recently. And he was like, Absurian, how is my German coming along? Warum fragst du das? Können wir uns IRL? What's IRL in echte Leben oder so? My German's okay. Having the garden, and having garden neighbors out there, and really being sort of forced to use German a fair bit with them has been helpful. But I really need to like formally study. I hate lessons so bad. I've got the Babel. Drops is a little bit better because it's just vocabulary. I've got Babel, but it's just like, oh, I hate grammar so much. Alright, let me catch back up here. For UI, if it was discussed, I know this is probably something that won't be implemented, but I actually like when the UI is not an overlay on top of the view window. Kind of like the original EQ and basically every CRPG before that. I like being able to see everything without my UI covering up. You know what? I'm gonna put that in UI because there may be a mode that we can put in that's kind of the old school mode that just kind of shrinks it down or whatever. But it's not gonna be the default. Let's be real on that. It won't be the default probably. Because a lot of people on the team like that old look. The old stone look where you had the little window. Little winder. Got a whole world right there in my window. Monk fasting gets bonus to stats. Okay, you know what, Keith? I will accept that. Where was food? Acceptable idea. Your idea is acceptable, Keith. Absorian said, Ich bin ein Berliner. I do in fact speak fluent German. We need to chat in Discord one day. Okay. Bist du eine echte Berliner oder ein amerikanischer Berliner wie JFK? Hey Goblin, what's up? Can you run a tavern? Your dream? Yeah, so that's definitely player housing and businesses confirmed for sure. For sure. That's one of those things that we want to get in during proof of concept just so there's no like bullshitting around and we'll do it later or whatever. Nope. You know how many doors I have put in to Night Harbor already? I've already put in like 150 doors in Night Harbor just for player housing. So we've got to do it now. Ollie's super keen on the idea. I'm keen on the idea. I think the team, generally speaking, is cool with the idea. Tech Lead, thank you for the follow. Is fishing currently just location based, or is there a difference, time, day, weather, bait, etc.? It's just location based, but you know what? Just as a reminder that one day we'll have to change that. Where did I? Oh, it's right here. I'm gonna leave it in black. There we go. Swagnar said, I want to play a dwarven bartender slash tavern keeper. Roleplay one? Yep. Hell yes, of course. Always wish the rooms at the end in EQ served more of a purpose. I used to RP going to sleep for the night in the end by logging out in one of the rooms. Could have sworn that we were just discussing that. I think Zemus was just saying that that was the original intent. Like you'd have to go get a room. Out of cash? Sorry, you can't log out. Now that is an area where I can picture that giving you a bonus. Right? So that seems like a reasonable place to get a bonus. That's not a throwaway bonus. Do we have inns and taverns as a thing here? Let's do inns and taverns as another little category here. Inns and taverns. Yep. Thank you for switching languages. Keyboard. I'm behind again. Alright, let me catch up. Is it C sweater? Or is it CS weather? Either way, hello. Players could be encouraged to let bread go stale and make breadcrumbs for fried food and croutons for salad. Freaking innovative. Who the couple of folks that were like, I don't want so much simulation in my MMO right now. Or, oh no, it's survival game. Does that count? Would that count as survival game? Sweater is fine. Love what you're doing. Love what you got going on. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much. Good to see you, Sweater. Nein, ich bin ein Breite, der 8 Jahre in Frankfurt am Main gelebt und gearbeitet hat. For not Germans. No, I'm not. No, I'm a Brit who lived and worked in Frankfurt am Main for 8 years. Oh, yeah. When I was a tiny little kid, I lived here for a while and always wanted to come back. And now look at me. Hate lessons in Swedish too. I've just taken to chatting to one online friend only in Swedish and I have to look for words. Yeah, my wife's the exact opposite though. She's I mean, sorry, I'm having to scroll up, so I know I'm a little out of sync probably with what you're thinking. But she's at like a Swedish C1 level now. Yeah, she does like, she's got monthly book club that's all in Swedish, even though they're all Germans. She does a lot of Swedish stuff. She's really, oh man. I did not hit repeat on the playlist. Let me go back. Monster Memory soundtrack. Go. Repeat. Duolingo, they teach you the weirdest shit in Duolingo. My wife's also learning Russian and she uses Duolingo for that partially. And it's like, I do not know this snake. Going back to detrimental effects of food, drink, what do you think about having an increased water consumption rate in the desert climates and increased food consumption in cold, dark dungeons? We've talked about it a little bit. It's just one of those things that may be kind of easy to do with data. So why not? Excuse me, same thing for your mount. And again, when we look at a lot of this stuff, it's usually we're pinging Ollie to kind of see, is this feature creep or is this something we could do pretty easily with in data? And I mean, if you've been following the stream, you see how sort of simple we approach things with regards to keeping things fairly like data based in an easy database or a simple database. SCGX said, oh, some of the ideas we had for handling player housing, supply and demand stuff back in the canceled SSC project were fucking wild. If you ever wanna shoot some of those over, whichever ones you can, then I'm always down to kind of hear what you guys were thinking on that. About the UI thing, seeing how the UI slides out with the panel, would it, what if the UI was the border of the screen and expands out as needed and could retract automatically when it's not used, or a player could pin it to stay put? Interesting. I'm just gonna put this down there so we don't forget it. How about that? I don't remember where UI was though. Is it down? Is it up? Probably up. So let's see. Going back to food. Yeah, it's always interesting. I don't know that I can go back to working on a game again at a company where we can't just have like discussions of this sort randomly on a Tuesday. Monteleone said, I want to build a tavern in the halfway mark in Krana's like zone in M&M. Exactly. Exactly. That's the point. That's the frickin' point, right? How badass would it be to be the person that has that tavern out there? Or little mom and pop guild, right? Because when you're not on, maybe somebody else is on. Talit said, I will have a store called Lassad's Layaways and Loans at the Westgate. Should we have a system where you can loan people money? And if they don't pay you back, they become PKable by you and anybody that you authorize. Should we do that? I'm gonna catch up. I swear I'm gonna catch up. What's the estimated pricing for player housing? Blue, no idea yet. It's gonna be, there's gonna be a range and a lot of it's gonna be expensive. Wolfgang said, took 2.5 years of German in high school in the 90s. Was surprised at how much I remember when I took the assessment in Duolingo. I could imagine that. Especially if you're a studious student. Zemus confirmed pre-launch EQ mechanic was to require you to be in an inn room you rented with a key to use /camp. Otherwise, you had to camp outside the city. Oh, that's kind of... Then you wake up, you're ambushed by goblins. A la Ultima. And orcs. Frickin' orcs. You got items randomly missing. Just not the thing you want to do. With a game like this, it takes a long time to level. I would like to see more quest lines for lower level characters. I think like epic quests in EQ that take a while to complete, but you have venturing in many areas, and the reward from these quests can help you outfit as you level. Yeah, if we can actually nail that timing a fair bit. I'm going to, because there was a, you know what? I'm going to paste that somewhere. I'm going to paste it. We're pasting it live. Also shared housing businesses between players, friends and couples. Yep. We'll be factoring that in. Tavern inn owning in Valheim, they have a great system for comfort for your player. Made base, yep. So we've been talking about that. The rest, sort of that well-rested bonus and that comfy bonus for inns. I'll paste it again, but that's something that we're already discussing for inns and trying to encourage folks to want to use them more. Traps in dungeons that spoil food. Blue, that is a very interesting idea. Kind of mean. Absorian said, I really miss not living in Germany as I have many friends there still, and nearly married a lady from Berlin. Yeah, I was like, you know what? I don't want to put myself in that situation, so I got to find me a lady to marry while I was here. Went ahead and did that. That was exactly my motivation. What do you think of your character's diet determining some medium-term character traits, like drinking alcohol a lot causes you to miss more but do more damage? Regularly eating a sheer drumsticks make your character slightly faster but also have a negative trait as well? Like what? Like it makes you gassy? What would be the negative? You get the squirts. Is that too far? It's like, dang, Sean, it's not Thursday. Why are you getting so... Oof. All right, so yeah, I've made it back to the loan sharking idea. Noxious gas AoE debuff. Only if it's an ogre. How do I feel about third-party add-ons? Just personally speaking, it depends on what they're doing. There's certain things that's like, okay, sure, whatever. You know, like being able to program your own voice notifications for stuff that's happening or whatever. It's cool. When they make, I guess the best way for me to say it is if it improves quality of life in a way that doesn't change the way that everybody has to play the game from that point forward, then I don't necessarily feel bad about them, right? I just hate when they start to become a necessity, or they make the way that we play the game different. Like if someone starts asking my gear score or bitching at me because I'm not putting out enough DPS in my casual group that I was just picking up to have fun after work one day, then I'm kind of bummed on them. Debt collecting just became a class. Yeah, well, I mean, Star Wars Galaxies had bounty hunters, right? Have debt collector NPCs in city. If you owe money to PCs, debt collectors in cities are aggro to you. All this is silly, I know, but you know what? Loan sharking. Can it be one of those goblins that ambush people? I really do think that being able to like flagging failing to pay your debt flags you. Players can mess with ya. Liz said, personally, I don't mind if the end of the quest is not majorly XP, but it also helps you have somewhere to go purpose rather than just out the gate randomly killing snakes. So I liked when I first started playing EQ, the whole MMO thing was so new to me that I didn't really know the boundaries, and I didn't understand like the best path, and I didn't have a list of all of the armor and all that shit. So the game itself provided, or that's not the right way to say it, the existence of certain items that I heard about through the community became their own quest, right? This idea of like, I still remember hearing about the polished granite tomahawk and really wanting to get PGT. So the fact that it existed, the fact that it was rare, the fact that it was in a specific location that wasn't where I was at, and the fact that I could hear about it from the community, that's kind of a quest in its own right, right? Like I don't necessarily need someone to tell me to go collect 5 like rat tails in order to get the Holy Grail. I just need to know that the Holy Grail exists, and then I'm going to go on a quest. I don't even need King Arthur to be like, hey, I need you to go find this thing, right? Like I just need to know it exists. So I think there's something about that if we get the pacing right, hopefully that'll wind up being the case. Because we've talked like I know recently First and I have even talked about this a little bit when we're talking about the number of different dungeons that there may be, or a number of different zones, or a number of different camps. And it's that idea of if the pacing of the leveling is such that we're not just blasting through the levels. In those early levels, take a while along with everything else. When I hear that there's this dope item for my level, or at a camp that I could potentially be able to do at my level, and it's not in my area, then that's a quest. So, you know what I mean? Like, I don't necessarily need somebody in that area to tell me to go halfway across the world. I just need to know that it exists. So I think that may be, at least for what I'm picturing there, it may be, it may just be a natural byproduct of what the leveling pace feels like relative to the item progression pacing, and then the actual item distribution, which as our world grows, it's very likely that we'll look at redistributing certain items. That makes sense. Swimming in water can make certain foods go bad. Back on the food stuff. The reason your game works is because it's fun. Please don't take away the fun factor. In my opinion, it's like a glove at the moment. Too many over-the-top things can be adverse. It's possible, but we really we want to play with a lot of this stuff. If we feel that it's, you know, if the general sentiment is that it's detracting from things, then naturally we won't go forward. But it's not like we're gonna go away and make up some shit and then be like, ta-da. You know, we're pretty open with this just so that we can get that feedback. But there's definitely some stuff that we want to play with. Keep in mind, when we do these sessions, it's just to get a bunch of ideas. This doesn't become the design doc, but a lot of times it's better to be, it's more interesting to write it down than to say, no, we'll never do it. It's a lot of fun just to chat with y'all. I mean, there's a ton of stuff. We talked about this on Thursday. There's a ton of stuff where, I mean, I could easily be like, yeah, well, camps versus no camps. Well, we're a camp focused game. We like camps, but there's no harm in having you guys throw some ideas on why. Throw some ideas on a different take or whatever. PGT was so good, so remember acquiring it on my Ranger. Yeah. Yeah. I loved it back when a lot of those early items just felt interesting and worth seeking out. There'll always be some of that meta, but I feel you can limit it by making lower levels last longer and matter more. I agree. I think we've got a little... I can paste your comment up here in leveling. I think we've got leveling. Right here. Boom. There you go, Droop. Heavy contributor tonight, Droop. Thank you. Monteleon says, you know, whenever I say your name, it's hard for me not to hear the bad brains. I think the name of the song that I'm thinking of is Yout Juice. Bad Brains. Yout Juice. Is that the... Yep. Bad Brains. Old punk band. And it's because of this. Ponce de Leon never found the fountain of youth. Blessed in Zion, Yout Juice. If you've never listened to the Bad Brains before, you should definitely... I don't know what you're into, but you should check it out. They're historical. They're part of history. So, speaking to my concept earlier about recipes and nutrient values, like wolf meat has protein value, but dragon meat will have 100x more protein, making the higher values for nutrients dictates the effects when eaten. Dude, yeah, that's a level of complexity that I don't know that we're gonna do. Oops, hold on one sec. My wife's about to make a bunch of noise in the background. Cool. Dialogue is great, and this is pretty fun bouncing ideas off each other. Yeah, I have a blast with it. I see the quest journal section is blank. Somebody, if I missed one of your things, because I'm trying to do a little bit better job of catching up here. If you suggested something or asked a question earlier and I missed it, don't feel bad about repeating it, unless you're dark inside. I really like Morrowind's questionable system with the appendix that was added later. It was an immersive way to track quests. Wagner, that's high up in our stack of reference. Oh, more noise again. Hold on one second. So, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn or talking ill of anyone when I say my wife doesn't do a lot of cooking. I do the bulk of the cooking. I like to cook. It's relaxing. I like to eat. I like to cook. So I do the cooking. But every day she makes our dog's food she's got like different vegetables that she boils, or it's got the vegetable dehydrated mix that she'll reconstitute, put in with different variations, mix and match of meats that we get frozen, like, and it's all just disgusting stuff, right? Like, cow guts and this and that and fish and but it's individual bags, chicken necks, and he's got a menu plan for every day of the week. He's got his own freezer. He's got his own little freezer thing, and it's so loud when she's getting in and out of it. It's just, maybe we need to defrost or whatever. That's one pampered pup. Oh yeah, he's definitely pampered. You know what he was eating before stream? That's why I was a few seconds late, but it's hot here today, and I was like, you know what? You've been a really good boy today. Dog ice cream that we get from that same place that we buy all the meats and stuff. Chicken liver apple was the flavor. He's spoiled. Maze said we should allow halflings to be monks. Maybe via a quest. But it's very unfortunate that you're not going to play our game because of that. But as long as you hang out in the community, it's nice to have you, Maze. You cook your cat steak sometimes? That's nice, see? Class idea. Bard songs provide... There's no way Maze isn't playing. No, he threatened not to play if we don't do halfling monks. So I'm gonna take him at his word. Calls bluff? Oh, absolutely. Disable his account. Just keeping you honest, bro. We'll re-enable it when we put in halfling monks. Your OCD is crying. I need to use bullet points. Here. Let's see what happens if I bullet point this real quick. See if it makes you feel better. Where's the option? Is that better? Love that idea of quests to unlock class race restrictions. I think we can have some fun with it. Nearest to cooking for my dogs is anything that's turning and gets cooked for the dog, and I've made some ice cubes out of bone broth for them. Oh, anything that's turning. Like if the meat's going bad, you'll cook it for them. Mentioning the cow guts kind of gave me an idea. What about a butchering skill? You could level to get better quality ingredients from beasts you kill. I'll write it down. Nick and I have totally never discussed that in the past. Nicodemus! Thank you for your generosity. Who'd you give that to? The Sea Jack, look at you. You lucky duck. Oh yeah. Hi Nick. Darius said my halfling monk in D&D fell off a cliff. The safe fall didn't work. Did you land on your feet? You hit on something earlier about the PGT. No game has hit on word of mouth itemization rare spawns camps that EQ had. I'm glad to see you recognize how fun it is. Sierra Helix, yeah, it's something we talk about on the team affair, but there are things like that establish a vibe that are really important. And now I understand wikis exist and there's more, it's easier to get knowledge, and there'll be, you know, meta setup and blah blah blah, but like I think there is something to at least setting that basis up, and then seeing how well it survives all of the various ways of mitigating it. John says, recipes I use for my dog's food. Take meat out of freezer, thaw, give the dog. Take fish out of freezer, thaw, give the dog. Yeah, this is essentially the same thing. It's just with a little bit of veggies. It's called the BARF program, which isn't necessarily the best marketing. But in all fairness, he only seems to barf when he doesn't eat. Fanaticist says, I think it'd be cool if a god could have dominion over a zone, a simple system based on raw number of adherents in said zone, giving a buff for their followers. If their god has the most PCs in the zone, it'd be a great reason for fellow adherents to get together and socialize as well. Maybe even have little get-togethers every once in a while, see what happens. Little slumber party. Or also prayer sites for individual gods, certain places and times to buff adherence. Like you get a quest where your god demands that you be at a particular place. Or I'm gonna write, I'm gonna copy paste this down. Do we have religion? I don't think we do. So I'm just gonna put it in here like I've been stubbing everything else in here. Religion. B More says, thoughts on skills providing temporary buffs to promote class proficiency, like Fireball making your next ice skill have increased crit chance, or your next fire skill applies a dot. That way there's some simple decision making involved in when you use a skill instead of spamming your highest damaging ability. Stuff like that always scares the shit out of me. I think Ollie has talked about some things like that. I thought it came up recently when we did the whole you can blast animals that drop meat and it cooks the meat. I don't know, did you see Nick had put that in? Is there already a place for something like this for me to note? I'm just gonna put it down at the bottom. Random note. Oh no. It wouldn't be random. That'd be more like spell interactions, state interactions. State interactions is what I'll call it. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm the one typing. I can type whatever I want. What about rituals instead of most number of people? What about both? My ritual is bigger than your ritual. What? Don't make me call my friends. Notes, players, journals, books. Can this text-based system support Markdown and M&M? Let me put this in Quest Journal real quick. It's a question. First hell level at 10, please, Unchained said. Nick, you heard him. Dwarves have to stop what they're doing every day to dig a hole to worship the rock and stone. What if they... Only if they want to stay in favor with certain god. Nick said XP is definitely getting nerfed a bit. Nice. Zemus, are you still there? In Ultima Underworld, you would have to find statues to chant specific words to increase your stats. So it's kind of a cool idea. Little buff. Zemus, did you see the question above with regards to hell levels? I always forget that one. I thought it was a miscalculation or something in the experience curves as well. Where did I put religion? Oh, there it is. If one of those religious rituals involved human sacrifice and you happen to be collecting a bounty on someone, that could make for a nice target. There we go. We'll use 2 topics in one. Rituals should have to be learned, books bought in places that have significant influence for that deity. That's interesting as well. That is interesting. Uncle J505, I like that. And then you immediately ruin it by trying to make gnome smoothies. Oh man. Thought we were gonna be friends. So Zemus said EQ's experience code is legitimately in the top 3 grossest things. I'm not 100% sure the intentionality behind the curves, later generation, software removed, the uneven spots in the XP per level table. We could also just literally have a hell level. You ding to level 10, you just fall through a hole in the ground. You gotta fight your way out. Takes you a week. Your bar, experience bar sets on fire. Hellfire. Oh man. Start hearing like Robert Johnson singing about hellhounds on your trail. What about the cow level? That'd be level 13. But don't expect to get anything good out of it. You ding, your hell level makes you PvP. Full loot. Good luck getting through that level. Carsazilla, thank you for the follow. I would like if I died more at lower levels, Droop says. An even con at level 1 should be 50-50 chance of death. People get used to death and its mechanics early. Yes, die early, die often, I say. Liz says, I like the idea of rituals where maybe you like net hack. You pray to your god and it can fix your hunger thirst or bless you, plus one some item, or curse you if you piss it off. Alright, we're gonna put that in there. It's like it's like Santa Claus at the mall. Have you been good? Zima said EQ's experience code is legitimately... Alright, I read that. What was the next thing? Oh, the experience per level value is something like 1000 times PC level cubed times a value from a table populated by hand. Fun. Bandeleon said it's probably just player-paced throttle tactics they forgot to remove later. I'd be curious to see if any of that actually existed, because I always hear about that. Like, oh, it's just intended to sort of gate people from progressing anymore. But that happened in a more subtle way later on. Like when I was on the team, we started thinking about progression rate and all that stuff, but it was rare that it was happening in the way that folks thought. They're like, oh, they left that broken just so people wouldn't like progress too fast. No, it was just legitimately broken because we ran out of time, that kind of stuff. Alphonse asked, did you ever decide if player owned and controlled ships will be a thing? Ollie really, really wants it to be a thing. And Ollie does the bulk of the programming, so there you go. So Baldur's Gate has bear intercourse? How will M&M top that? Is that, but that is bear, B-E-A-R, as opposed to B-A-R-E intercourse? Help me understand bear intercourse. I haven't watched the video yet, I guess, for Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate bear intercourse. Oh, it was a shape-shifted druid? Druid, wild-shaped bear. There's a druid you can romance, a druid in bear form, a druid wild shapes during the act, 2 druids in bear form in the woods alone. It's like a setup for a joke. Yeah, Shmonite. When 2 bears love each other very much. So he turns into a bear and has intercourse with one of the other dudes. Was wild. Need to watch the video? It's great. Oh man. Game marketing in 2023. Guys, we know what you've been looking for. It's one of the many choices Baldur's Gate 3 gives you. Effing bears. Yeah, so Ollie will probably be focusing more on player-owned and controlled ships over bestiality quests. Is anyone else singing the bare necessities? Nice. The Bears. As soon as I read The Bears, I thought of Nick. Literally, these days, anything Chicago related, I'm like, I think of Nick. All right, so bear intercourse is where we left off. Let's see if we can get back into. Is that it? Is that it for us? Did we just burn through our energy at almost 2 hours in? Will there be utility spells added to address outdoors darkness for large group camps, like a lingering flare in the sky for an encounter? We talked about flares as a means of finding other players in the past. So campfires that you can place would be cool, Nybrock says. Yep. Been talking about that for a while as well. Mage could just shoot up a fireball up in the air. Swagner said, I suggested clerics losing spells if they commit anathema towards their gods and having to atone. I could see us adding some additional stuff that's god specific that you might lose access to. Flammable plant life, wildfires. Oh, I think that's going to be above our fidelity level. I don't know where to put this other thing. Is it, where would I put it? Flares. I'm just gonna put it here. Greater light source, unlimited charges. No plans for those anywhere near early in the game. During testing, we pulled fire beetles to our camp and killed them as a light source. Smart move. If we could set our group members on fire for better visibility, I'm all for that. You guys are mean tonight. I say just that people get creative with things like projectile spells. Basically, let them shoot a fireball in a direction when they have no target, or even something like a flaming arrow. But players will come up with interesting ideas if they're allowed more free use of spells, weapons, etc. It's interesting how do you really define that without putting in like a targeting reticle type thing? Bumbra says, I'm a huge Underdark fan, so I love the idea of leveling solely in the Underdark, or whatever we're calling it. We've been calling it the Deep so far. Can I sponsor you to come practice physical therapy in Germany? At the rate I'm going, I might need that. I've got 2 different appointments coming up on that topic. My neck and shoulders are wrecked. Nybrock, have a great meeting. Have a great rest of your day. feel like I'm missing some stuff. Killing fire beetles and being able to drag their corpses would be interesting. NPC corpse drag? Oh man, that seems so... Yeah. There are definitely some potential problems with that, but you know what? NPC corpse drag. Let's put it in here. I don't know where to put it. I don't know where it goes. Sounds like the funnest set of exploits, right? Super exploity. NPC corpse drag, like wearing their skin. Calm down, Buffalo Bill. The wrong kind of drag. I'm just gonna put it in here with corpse runs. Ultimate troll drag the corpse around, another party trying to... Well, it wouldn't be... It would be permission based, right? Corpse Mountain and Night Harbor. I could definitely see people dragging corpses and making big piles. So what about just group yell? So that if you get invited to a group in a dungeon, a player could do a group yell, which you see a message like you hear your party far in the distance to your left. Kind of like a droop. Droop, you've got a lot of good ideas tonight. Not saying that you don't usually have good ideas, but find, oops, wrong window. Find group. This is a different topic, but it's probably more better suited for the call to hero, blah 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 stuff. Sparrow, hello, how are you? Marco Polo find system, that's fantastic. Limit the distance they can be corpsed, but then that would, you know, that would make it less prone to exploits. NPC res. Firefly lamp, please. Maybe I should just make a section called lighting. Lighting. Spelled with a G and an M. I'd actually like to see NPCs have the ability to revive other NPCs. Where should I put that? I'll just put it down here. Zukin. Zukin says, kills dragon, lame trash mob you skipped, runs over and reses dragon before loot rolls. That would be awesome. Very intrigued by the old school mud text commands with interaction. Would love to see more that as well. Yeah, right now we've got a lot of power in the system. So, I mean, there's definitely more functionality that we want to get in there. But really, I think that the key for us is just getting shit in. Just implementing. Hammering stuff in. Wagons for piling multiple corpses on for more efficient dragging. Putting a corpse on a wagon. Are racial languages common tongue on the roadmap? We've got languages in. We'll be continuing to add more support. If someone were to hypothetically / taste sand, could their speech be garbled similar to hearing an unknown tongue for a minute? I once had a friend do that at the beach. He thought it would impress a girl. He ate a mouthful of sand. And to be honest, it's not even really garbling. It's just there's a lot of like coughing and crunching. What will Taste Fire Beetle do? At the moment, nothing. We don't have a lot of... I don't think we... I'm trying to remember where we left on interactions with both random NPCs and items. Yushu says, I saw a 2-year-old baby do that the other day. Well, that was kind of the shtick because he was very, very tiny. He honestly, he looked like a tiny little hobbit, and she was a very, very tall woman. And he sat on her lap and ate a handful of sand. So maybe that's what he was going for. It was spring break in Panama City in the 90s, so go figure. Maybe he's just checking to see if she'd be a good mom. Taste on frogs should get to play her high. Would taste like burning. Yeah. Taste fire beetle. That's spicy. How many cities are planned? Seeing the size of Night Harbor, I can assume you guys aren't going to have a whole city for every single race. Not to that scale. Not to that scale. Or not to that scale at the time that the city first comes available. But probably just not to that scale. We'll see. I think every city is probably going to have its own sort of vibe in terms of scale, utility, content. Were you like 12 or was this like a year ago? We were 15, 16. He was older. I think he was like 18. The CGX said, I once ate glass off the road from a road accident to impress a boy, so... Yeah, it happens. That sounds like a really horrible idea. I'm glad you didn't die. Nope. Was not Barnaby. Let's see. Is it true that Panama City / Destin area has the nicest beaches in Florida? They've got like this incredible white, just brilliant white sand. At least when I used to go there. And decently warm water. And I don't think a lot of people being eaten by sharks. So that's a big plus in my book. Dreg said, I realized something the other day. In modern MMOs, the meeting places are in cities. In old EQ, the meeting places were out in the wilds at camps or port places. Yeah, more so, right? Nicodemus says, PCB, Panama City Beach, is beautiful and worth your time. Yeah, my dad lives in Central Florida now, and he's talking about eventually selling his house there and trying to get up in the Panhandle. I wouldn't mind that. Dragus, that's a really good point, though. I think we want to create a mix of both, right? We want to encourage there to be cool, and ideally, if it's player driven, you know, like player owned property or inns or whatever out there, player placed camps, preset camps that can be modified by players, all that stuff. Want to have stuff that's out in the wild, because the world's pretty big, but then also really find reasons for people to want to go to town. So, because the idea is like, let's make the world. Think about it. If you think about Otis, Antonica, and why am I spacing? It's not Greater Fadark is not Felwith. What is? Why am I spacing on the third? East Fadar. Fadwar. Shit. Anyway, so Fadwar. So if you just had Otis, Antonic, and Fadwar, with tons of content built in there, not constantly going to new continents, and you know what I mean, like having new shit out there, having the ability to go on expeditions to places but come back. Just think about that feel over time of seeing people, places, and when you're traveling, there still being like a nice density of players. I think there's room for these types of meeting places to exist in the wild and in cities. I think the traveling convenience and modern MMOs made the transition of populating cities instead of out in the wild. Maybe, but there's probably also things like auction houses and other stuff that were located in there. I'm probably spacing on a number of other conveniences that exist. And then maybe it just become like a cultural thing as well, like the culture for E, or is that more of an I? Hey, what's up, D-Loves Pudding? Thank you for 15 months. Hey. I was thinking about you earlier today. I was like, I haven't seen him in a while. I hope everything's good. No bullshit. I was actually thinking about you. Let me go up here. We're going to throw it there. So I tell you what, we focused on eating and drinking. We had some stuff. Fishing, we added inns and taverns, loan sharking. Bounty hunting, religion. D's coming in with some thoughts on travel. D says, I'll throw my thoughts in that if travel in MMOs was more like Valheim, it would be a lot more enjoyable. Kick-ass ships, rogue waves, sea serpents, and danger. I'll highlight this. I think we've got travel up here, right? I'll make these into bullet points at some point, and then we'll also share this list like the other ones. Right here. I love that we have a player economy for transportation, but I think that could come in other forms other than just ports. Dreg, throw some ideas out there then. We've thought about We've thought about like wagons, boats. Let me scroll back up real quick. Oh, I scrolled too far. Damn it, I went too far again. D says, brother, remember the fun we had with the push cart shelling ore to our shit shack? That was so much fun. Spent so much time hacking and making the path traversable for our wagon. That was a fun night or two. Drag corpse, worst form of player run transports. I don't know. If you could drag across zone lines, I could actually see that. Hey, I'm gonna come back in 15 minutes. Drag me to Freeport. Coding Caffeine said, hey, yeah, it looks like I missed a lot today. Was busy picking out on an Italian sub and a Philly cheesesteak. Man, now I'm jealous. It's 10:16 right now, and all of a sudden I want a Philly cheesesteak. Shit. Lacoste, what's going on? Whoa. Doing anything crazy right now? Any marathon type stuff? Chilling? How am I doing? I'm doing alright. I'm old. I had a Red Bull earlier, so I had like a grand total of 15 minutes of energy. It's weird. Shit just doesn't last the way it used to when I was a kid. So, 10:17 at night on my end. It's muggy. Tandem bikes for group travel. I was thinking like tandem mounts, like being able to hop on somebody's mount or hop on somebody's cart. We've talked about caravans in the past. Which when I said, yeah, you're old. Dude, I'm kind of old. I'm getting there. I'm 48. What? You're going to deprive me of my age now? Any good tips for energy restoration? Sleeping. Going to bed at 10 instead of staying up till 11 with you crazy people. They have multi-person mounts in WoW and it's kind of dumb. Why is that in Destiny 2? My old dad would say 48's a young whippersnapper. Well, my dad would say that too, but he, that's just shit old people say. D, why are you starting on that topic again? D's always bringing up something like that. D said, I think a lot of people fell out of love with EQ when they introduced Plane of Knowledge and all of their teleporting. To empty cities! The cities were empty! The cities were empty. The cities were empty. A centralized location that you could reach from all starting cities that were empty at the time was primarily introduced at the time because starting cities were frickin' empty. They're empty. They're empty. Nah, man. Nah, man. It ruined my ability to be a taxi. Bullshit. And the cities were empty. Literally have a spreadsheet somewhere on a hard drive that's sitting in storage somewhere about fucking empty those cities were. Matter of fact, what it did do was make it so that you actually got to see other players within the first like days of playing an MMO if you're new to MMOs at the time. Because everybody else had their ass off in, where were they? Getting better loot than anything you'd get in Classic in Kunark, or progressing, grinding in Velius in the hopes of, I don't know. No, and by then you were probably, half of you were sitting just farming XP in Fungus Grove or something. So tripped. I'm so tripped. Wah. What if there were communal ships that took a long route to get places, but you could build your own boat and take a faster route, more dangerous water? I like that. You've redeemed yourself. I mean, not that you weren't really on the shit list. We love you too much for that. I really do need a... I've got like 6 hard drives sitting in storage, and I know a few of them are from that era. There's got to be some valuable information. I've got a bunch of notes in Dropbox that... What? It's Switch keyboards in it. Oh my god. What keyboard am I using right now? Alright. Anyway. Found EQ in POC time. That's my nostalgia, Sparrow said. See? Yeah, I don't think books were a big deal falling. Big deal to falling in or out of love with the games. I think Gates did that. Gates definitely had an impact, but I think people are forgetting how much. You know, at that point, let's see. Because I forget exactly when that one. Planes of Power. Well, I mean, wait. Why am I even arguing that point? Legacy of Akesha, after Planes of Power came out, so Legacy of Akesha was that 5 months after Planes of Power came out. Legacy of Akesha, on the night of release of Legacy of Akesha, we had the most concurrent player count to date. I don't know if we ever beat it. We had 118,000 concurrent players on the night that Legacy of Akesha came out. The player base continued to grow until, I forget when. Maybe Zemus remembers. Yeah, WoW killed EQ. I was looking up the date because I was like, what date relative to EQ killed EQ? Yeah. Maze killed EQ, Nick said, so. Planes of Knowledge didn't help like it thought it would. It's still barely used though, right? Like it did what it was supposed to do, which was consolidate players in an area so that new players would see other players when they came in, and it made it so that it was super easy for, like, if you rolled a dwarf and I rolled a shit, I don't know, erudite, we could get together and play together pretty quickly. Did it kill that original sort of journey of running across? Yeah, but people just at the time didn't want it. Int SC2. Oh man. Int SC2 said I killed EverQuest. It may be. It may be. True story, you bought Pop with $50 you won on a scratch off soon after 18? That's pretty badass. Only plane you weren't a fan of was the Plane of Tranquility. Always thought the entrances to the plane should be spread around the world. Plane of War, entrance in Aga, Growth, Calithan, Innovation, Steampunk. I can't remember if we discussed that, and I can't remember if I can't remember if there was a reason why we didn't do that as opposed to Plane of Tranquility. I can't remember. Not saying that's a bad idea, but for some reason I feel like that was an idea that was on the table and there was a specific decision. In SE2? Just kidding about me destroying EverQuest? Thank you. You can look at the population numbers declining with LOI, Eldon, Gates, and EQ2 with this. Is that true though? Is that true? Which numbers are you looking at? Which numbers are they? Love the journey, made for sense of exploration travel. Converter, I don't think anybody would disagree with that. I'm big fans of the journey. The original journey from Kanos to Freeport with a buddy that I met in Kanos was one of the most epic nights of gaming in my life. The only problem was people were no longer seeing other people in those cities, and so they didn't have the opportunity to make the buddies, so they weren't making the journey. That was the problem. Nick said, level 29 Wizard and Druid ports in Classic killed the journey of running across the world. I also like the entrances being around the world. First time in Fear was epic. Yeah. Liz says, Sean, serious question. Back in the day, EQ used to list how many people were on servers, and then it got removed. Rumor was it was because the numbers were seriously hyped. Was that the real reason? Not that I know of, but I mean, it could be. It could be that people were doing math they shouldn't, but it wouldn't matter because the numbers that were hyped were subscription numbers, and the server numbers were never a good description or depiction of the server numbers unless they were being scraped the whole time. But even then it didn't matter because the number of subscribers that we had, EverQuest was kind of like a gym membership. For us, it didn't matter as much, like from a business standpoint, how many people were playing concurrently or how many people were playing weekly or monthly. It was how many people were paying each month. So a lot of people would just, you know, I think the only, it wouldn't be that the numbers, it wouldn't be that the numbers were overhyped. I think there might have been at a point where there was a decline, and you could start to see that on the servers, then I could see them being removed for that reason. That would make sense. Unchanged said, yes, subscription numbers decreasing correlate precisely before WoW even launch from our perspective. Yeah, find the graph, like, because I'm curious of the source of the data on the graph. I'm not arguing that it's not true. I'm just curious about it. I'm not trying to be that defensive. At the time when we started to talk about player retention in that era, one of the biggest topics, starting from like starting from even when I was there, you got to remember that we as a company didn't have an understanding of how long people would be willing to play a game like this. So this looking back and going, you know, oh well, EverQuest could have had, you know, it's put out what, 27 expansions over the last like 24 years or whatever. 23 years? No, 24 years. There was no concept of that. So I think it started to register a little bit that the game would have, you know, decades worth of longevity. But the EverQuest team, when I was on it, we were contending with the idea that there was a strong belief within the company that EverQuest 2 would basically just cannibalize all of the players of EverQuest 1. And then when when WoW came out, there's, you know, the idea was like, all right, and this is essentially a better EQ2 in many ways for a lot of people. But one of the other things that we were running into was, let's look. So Xbox Live, when it first came out, November 2002, there's a lot more discussion of the fact that more people were finding they were introduced to online play through EQ, which will sound weird, but if you worked in customer service during that period, you would definitely see that we had a number of people that basically owned a computer and a modem for EverQuest, and then as they got exposed to the idea of more, like online play, there's always a little bit of potential for us to lose players permanently to other MMOs as they were coming out. They're resonating with people, but often we would see a dip in actual user numbers, but then we would see like the engagement numbers, so concurrent users or monthly active users or whatever, but we wouldn't lose subscriptions. Whenever a new MMO would come out, we would see people dip away for a month or something like that, and then they would come back. But more and more MMOs were coming out during that period, and we had more and more people. There was a common sort of refrain, and it was a discussion within the company that was basically people wanted to be able to play something for 30 minutes or an hour and then move on. And that became more and more of a topic, and that actually fed into a number of decisions that we made during that time, right? So if you look at Lost Dungeons, that was definitely something that we were looking at for the average player, right? So right or wrong, that became more of a topic of we're competing for basically mind share. We're competing for people's time, and more options started coming online, right? So you know, if I can hop in and play X number of whatever death matches or play some Dota with some friends or whatever it is, that winds up eating into our sort of numbers as well. And then you saw a maturation of the game where more and more focus, we are overly focused on the high end, and we're overly focused on catering to sort of the raid segment and the high end of the game at the detriment of the initial experience. Was EQ2's peak population when? Did it even ever get bigger than EQ1? I've never thought it did, Nick. But who was it? Was it Unchained that was pulling up the graphs? Finding because there's some subscriber info that they were just discussing. Somebody, I thought it was Unchained though. Let's see. Okay, I remember this one. Is this from the old Nick Yee stuff? I've watched Nerdslayer's video as well. It's been a little while though. One of the things I've noticed with everything that's been discussed about like the life cycle of EverQuest, at least during the period when I was there, a lot of them get it about 60 to 75% right. But again, I think there's always that little bit of if you weren't there, maybe you weren't privy to all the info. And I'm not saying that like I actually remember the info. That's why I did the expansion, the interviews with those folks. All right, so EQ, baby blue line. 2000. We've got a plateau from 2000. Yeah, it kind of stays steady plateau. 2001, 2002, 2003. July 2003. Yes, July 2003. We get a little peak here. And so Lost Dungeons, Gates of Discord is February 2004. So it's somewhere in here between these two. We see a drop down. So whoever said Gates of Discord had a bigger impact than the previous ones. I think more correct than what we're saying here. So EQ peaked at 550 according to this in July of 04-ish, right? So somewhere in 04. So Omens of War, is that where this line's going up? So Omens 04, and so if this peak is 04, does that not correlate with the WoW speculation in EQ2? Unchained said as a hardcore raider at the time, we were just tired of sharding keying for everything on a raid end, and God was broken. Omens of War was a good attempt, but too little too late to recapture non-hardcore raider and hardcore. But you just brought data. The data seems different than what we were saying earlier. Oh, let me answer two questions that I keep meaning to answer, but I failed to earlier. Do we have a launch date in mind for M&M? Nope. We're just going to continue working through proof of concept, and then that'll give us better metrics to, I don't know, speculate what we plan on doing to go live. And then the other one was number of cities. Number of cities eventually, or the number of cities at launch will be two things, very likely. Two different things. Converter said old players, old school, want to feel that sense of danger, risk, adventure in a game. That's what EQ gave and what MMO has to offer and is what people are most excited for. My first ever memory of EQ was gathering the courage to leave Caladim as a newbie dwarf. Walked down the path to the house at night where a barbarian sat inside and we talked for, where a barbarian sat inside and we talked for hours about his journeys so far. Brand new in 1999. It was 13. That's badass. Yeah, it was so much scary. I don't know that anything will ever replicate that like level of just sort of fear because it was actually truly unknown. You guys, we can't memory wipe you. You know how MMOs work, but we can tap into a few of those things. Wonder if people stop playing but let their subs chill for a few months before they cancel. Yeah, that was always the case. We lost a certain number of subs during Legacy of Akesha as well. We lost 20 to 30,000 subs in Legacy of Akesha because we introduced what was it? Was it extra bank slots? No, it was literally, we lost like 20 to 30,000 mule accounts or some shit. If I'm not mistaken, but I could have sworn that's accurate depiction of what happened. And shared bank. Is that accurate for that game? Or am I thinking of a different game? But I could have sworn that happened. But would that make sense? That doesn't even make sense. It almost seems like we would gain mule accounts. I remember we lost a bunch of mule accounts though. Let's see. But I actually want to resolve this since we brought it up. Alright, so according to this timeline, which I don't think has all of the correct data, this shows 550,000 peak subs in the 2004... So fall of 2004. And so if we're looking at this, fall of 2004 would be Omens of War. Will there be transmog or die in the game? Nope. But we will allow you to flag certain things like backpacks or helmets visible or invisible. Will weapons be visible while sheathed? Or worn on the back. As just a means of giving you a little bit of extra custom flavor, I could see us potentially exploring the ability to have weapons appear sort of as if they're sheathed. But it's not anything that's like a priority or whatever. Because right now we've got pouches and other shit on you. And we'll be adding more things that you can see. Let's see. There's something else I wanted to. World of Warcraft. So November 2004. So Q4 2004 and EQ2 was also. When was that? November 2004. Okay. So, again, DAC player, you're very welcome. Again, when we look at this... Oh, and I want to look up one more thing. EverQuest wiki. Growth and sequels. I thought it said it somewhere in here. Nope, guess not. Because I could have sworn one of these entries had some like quotes from SOE in terms of like subscriber numbers. Brown Butcher said, personally, I think EQ had too many expansions. Yeah, it's funny. This quote, I love EQ as much as the next orc, but even I wish Sony would ease up on the expansions a bit. Yeah. I love this. To me, this is brilliant journalism. When the most noteworthy feature of your expansion is the ability to roleplay a frog, maybe it's a sign you're running out of ideas. Or that you shouldn't make an expansion in 4 months. Let's see. There's so much content they could have gone back and completed. Sublimation items without graphics, broken quests, poor revamps, Chardock, no summoning. Yeah, I mean, it's we never had the ability to really just like have a truly focused live team. Um, 83% rating on game rankings. What does anybody even care about game rankings? Or is that just a random stat? I'm so bad at being in the video game industry. $85 for Velius, 86 for Lucklin, 83 for Plains, 82 for Eldon, 76 for Gates, 84 for Omens. I'll take it. WTO's game ranks, I have no idea. But it sounds like something you could put on your LinkedIn. Maintained an 83% average on game rankings for all expansions that I've worked on. Rat Race. Greater than Frog Race. Dude, the little rat men are so badass looking. Going through old expansion reviews would be good stream content. Might be a fun one to do with guests. Like if I can pull a panel together, we can talk about it. But I thought there were sub numbers that were listed from the company. Maybe on this one, 500. So according to this, early 2000, the game's domestic sales alone reached 231,000 copies. MPD Tech World, a firm that tracks sales in the US, reported 559,000 units sold of EverQuest by 2002. Some numbers would rise to over 500,000 active accounts 4 years after release in 2003. And they've got a source here from a press release from Sony Corporation of America. It reached a peak of 550,000 subs according to this book. But where did the book get the number? Let's see. EQ, where you is? EQ 2004. Okay. Which is maybe where, and so maybe it's true, but either way, Northern Sky said 500 of those accounts were probably mine. That's fine though. If you can afford 500 accounts, we didn't necessarily care whose accounts they were. We just cared that they existed. So anyways, back to the original back to the original thing that triggered all of this, and I believe Unchained, you were the source of these images, but the original premise behind these images was that EQ started dying during LOI, which is 2003, which is right here, which is 100,000 plus subs below its peak. So that was incorrect. And what really seemed to nail it here was, I mean, look, this number is big and drops off the same time this number pops up. So EQ2 comes out and has, it looks like around there, it peaks almost as it comes out, right? So it peaked pretty quickly. It was like before the year was up, it was at 320,000 subs, as EQ was then losing only like 100,000 subs. And then WoW's not on here, is it? But no mounts, please. There'll be mounts. I hate to break it to you, Deok. We're really excited about mounts. At least some of us are. I don't know if everybody is, but I know a few of us are. You just had a Mr. Beast burger and fries, and the burger buns were soggy. Dark inside, I did not know that Mr. Beast made burgers. I like soggy buns. I'm okay with soggy food. I'm okay with soggy food. Liz said, I stopped playing when I lost my job and had to cancel my EQ accounts, which I did through EQ. And it took them anyways, refused to refund them despite my... Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks. Unshade said, anyways, thanks for engaging in that topic. Didn't mean to subvert the topic. No. Honestly, I felt like we had kind of, on the brainstorming, we peaked, like my Red Bull. And just kind of, but we got a lot of really good stuff in here tonight. There's some really fun ideas in here tonight. So let's close these. You blame D loves pudding? I wouldn't do that. That's never bet against D. Excuse me. Mounts shouldn't make you much faster. Real life horses don't walk much faster than people. So we want to do stuff with mounts helping with inventory, transportation of items. Things to keep in mind with our mounts is we want them to stay in the world. We also want them to be killable. So like if you get ambushed or you get in a fight on a mount and you get cacked, your mount's probably going to leave a corpse there as well. They're going to have ongoing maintenance costs. Mounts gotta eat and drink and stuff. Even deep dwarf mounts, which is interesting. Mount speed will definitely be variable. Will you be able to continue to beat a dead horse? Probably. I don't know if you'll be able to drag a dead horse though. Yeah, so, but it'll be an area that we play with. We'll see. And Unchained, all good. I'll say it again. It's interesting. It was a nice side tangent. What we have, move speed buffs that rival riding horse. Yeah. Our goal isn't to make mounts to put them in and just make them super fast. I do like soggy buns, Dark Inside. I like all sorts of soggy food. Some of the brainstorm ideas that you guys put out here tonight were really, really fun. So it's going to be nice to go back and read these. So I tell you what we're going to do is I'm going to clean up formatting a little bit better, and but it'll still be it'll be a little bit of cleanup, but it'll still be pretty raw in here. And then I'll get this set up so that we can post a link and everybody can check it out. Mount maintenance can't escape Star Stable. Nope. I felt like there was a lot more we could have done with mounts in Star Stable. So, wait. So you're saying I have to feed Lord Fartsworth, my sassy donkey companion? Yes. Or your sassy donkey companion is going to get even sassier. You don't want to hangry Fartsworth. Come on, D-Loves Pudding. D-Loves Pudding. You know what a fart's worth? Send me a DM, I'll tell you. I've just had this stroke of Delphine entrepreneurial genius. I wonder what it costs to mail a jar. Zukin says, what happens if you hitch your horse and go into a dungeon? Then your horse aggroes some stuff someone else is killing. Do you get in trouble for kill stealing? No. How did I like Anarchy Online? I enjoyed it for quite a while. I had a lot of fun. The original sort of pitch for Eldon was actually based off of playing Anarchy Online and enjoying the little generated missions. Hey Keebs, what's going on, buddy? You should sell authentic Night Harbor sand with those farts. See? I have to go to Panama City Beach to get it though. Swagner says, oh yeah, if the mounts are persistent and killable and we have loan shark / debt. And we have loan sharks. And we have... Yeah. And if we rent the mount from a stable and the horse dies, we owe the stable the cost of the horse. Mount rental. Didn't consider that. Popsicle says Star Stable seems down bad after that character update. I noticed a lot of girls were not happy on Instagram, which is really a bummer because I know the team was super excited for that for years. Not quite sure why it took so many years to release them, but well, it's not my company anymore. Unless you purchase optional horse insurance. See? Should some classes be able to fight from horseback like knights? And if they do, can you level up your horse? That'd be one of those things that we would put on the maybe after everything else is done kind of list. We had a few of those topics tonight of like coming back and revamping a system to make it more interesting or complex over time. Cavalier prestige class. Interesting. I just had the vision pop into my head of your mounts having random names like mage pets. Epic. And then you gotta level them up. You really gotta get to know your pet before you can name it. Are there any games you've worked on outside of EQ that you fire up and play ever? I think DC Universe Online was the only thing, and that was mainly just for stream. I mean, I played some Star Stable when I worked at Star Stable. All right, it is. I just realized it's 11 p.m. now. Popsicle said UI had a persistent mount system that worked pretty well. Yep, Ali is definitely referenced it. Ali's the big UO head on the team. All right, y'all. I'm gonna wrap up. I'm gonna wrap up and be back on Thursday. Everybody, thank you for participating here. Like I said, we'll get this cleaned up. We'll get it posted. We'll get the old ones posted as well. And then we'll discuss them in more detail. Brown Butcher, thank you for enjoying the stream. Thank you for participating. Jamino, see you. Alphonse, see you. Unchained, thanks for being here and for having a bunch of questions. See you. D Loves Pudding, thank you. I will. Thanks again for your generosity. Nicodemus. Yeah, right on. Yeah, we've snuck out the update. I'll send the email for that tomorrow, actually. But those of you that want to check the website, you can see the update now. Issues, bye-bye. Indefinite. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here. Sparrow, always nice to see you. John, see ya. Liz Biscuit, I had a lot of fun. See you on Thursday, maybe. Oh, don't forget to add a group pic to the update you put out. Oh, okay. Yep, shit. Probably not going to do that before bed. Maybe I will. All right, let me make a note. All right. See you, Zukin. Swagnar. No, I appreciate that. Quixana, have a great week as well. Zemus, always nice to see you in here. Lasava, see you. Oh, Zukin, that's a good idea. You know what, Zukin, don't let me forget that. When I wake up, maybe I'll update the update with that. I'm gonna run to bed because it's getting late, but I can do that when I wake up in the morning. Warclick said fries chips will help with this thing as well. Where'd that come from? Schmonite, you're very welcome. Ah, shit. At some point I moved this and it messed up the text. Alright guys, I will see you on Thursday. Have a great one.